Hello, hello, hello! This is Tamarina Sims and you are watching a speed build of the new school in town, Pleasantview Junior. First, I needed this lot for my latest machinima with Prudence crumble bottom. So this build has two phases. Phase 1 was about recreating the neighborhood decor as a functional lot, similar to what I did with the kindergarten. In the machinima, the lot is visited by Prudence. That was important, although the idea of teaching the kids of Pleasantview needed to grow. The scene takes place after Prue visited her friend Gretel, and the idea to plant something for herself is still on her mind. So, this lot needed to be an empty old house where 3 families once lived, while the parents worked at the Crumblebottom farm. I imagine that the parents of Max and Bob Senior Newbie resided there. Although nobody lives there anymore, some old things are still left behind and probably no longer usable. However, for Prudence the lot has potential and she is checking it out, and the idea to teach the kids here in Pleasantview is growing more and more in her mind. Afterwards, Prue continues her way to the park where Albert can play, and she meets the 2 mothers whose children will soon attend the school in Moonlight Falls. Hearing their worries about the train ride and the way to the school in the bigger city makes Prudence think even more about having a school here, although the idea isn't final at this point. However, it becomes final at the dinner table with her husband. In Simon, Prue has a good partner who manages the town as a priest and also acts as a mouthpiece between Pleasantview and Moonlight Falls. In the video Pleasantview 1925 Meet the Goth Ancestors, I implied that Prudence comes from a wealthier and well-educated family in Moonlight Falls. She probably attended a private girls' school there and was able to study biology at the University of Moonlight Falls, where she met her future husband Simon Crumblebottom. Even though he studied philosophy and wanted to become the priest of his hometown, he impressed Prudence's parents with his farmland, which she would inherit someday. They married after Prudence graduated and she left Moonlight Falls to live with her husband in the countryside. She never had a job or a task on the farm. She was simply the wife of Simon. Of course, people look up to her and pay her respect. However, when I played Prue for the first 2 years, it was more like she was searching for a purpose and hiding her thoughts behind the books she read. She is a knowledge popularity sim, and although it never gets boring with her, she always enjoys learning new things and befriending people. That's why I think she is good with the people around her and understands what especially women are worried about. Simon, as a priest, has probably also a good idea of what his congregation is up to. However, in the 1920s was still a time when emotions were often neglected, which was a problem. I believe it is Prudence's job to find out what is really going on with the villagers, making her the perfect fit for Simon. Prudence was 27 when she gave birth to her firstborn Albert. From that moment she had her task, a job to do for her family and especially for her baby. She also called Enriqueta to look after Albert from time to time so she could continue her studies. In Gretel Goth she found a woman who shares the same desire as Prue, being the lady of the house, highly educated but with no real task. The housework is left to the maid, the garden is taken care of by a gardener, and there isn't much for a woman of higher class to do. Both women want to become best friends with each other and they complement each other very well. However, with the new kindergarten in town, Prudence finds more time for herself but soon realizes that there is still a void in her life. Now with the school building, she can fill that void and flourish. She doesn't know it yet, but she will have more tasks in the neighborhood. The life she knows will change. Darker times are coming and the children she is teaching and watching to grow may die in an evil war. Okay, back to the present. Right now everything is good in Pleasantview. The village is growing, good things are happening. So many babies have been born and it's great that they can be taught here in Pleasantview. Thanks to the kindergarten, some kids are nearly friends, and the main idea is that the children get to know each other. I can't wait for them to grow into teenagers. I hope that some kids will already establish a relationship by then, making it easier to marry them off as adults. Now, back to the building itself and phase 2 of construction. I got rid of the things I put in for the machinima part and turned the old workers' house into a small school building. The main school room will be on the first floor and 12 kids can be taught together. I already know that we will have some school years that won't fit any students into the class. But we have 2 teachers that can handle that problem. In the main classroom, Prudence and Gretel will take turns in teaching. Prudence is the biology science teacher and Gretel, who studied history, will focus on that. But it's still an elementary school, so the first graders will be taught to read, write and use numbers. Also on the first floor is the art room with 13 easels, 12 for the students and 1 for the teacher. This room already looks used with paint on the floor, though we have to imagine that it will look like this in the future. The landing between both rooms is still empty, but I plan to hang up paintings from the children. I saw a smaller table easel online, maybe I will get that one as well. Makes more sense to me that kids are painting smaller pieces. Downstairs is a larger entrance area with a piano. I think at some days they sing the national anthem in the mornings. And a sculpture for prayers has also found its way into the entrance area. Next to that, we have a boys' and a girls' bathroom as well as a small teacher's office. It will be used when one teacher is off duty. Right now, teachers can read in there. Then there is also a big kitchen and cafeteria area. In the 1920s, school lunches weren't very popular in America, but I did some research on the topic. In America, school lunches were integrated via the National School Lunch Act introduced by President Harry Truman in 1946. In Germany, there are reports about school lunches from the 1920s, mostly organized by social initiatives or associations. However, Gretel is British, so I looked up the situation in England as well. The provision of meals in schools became possible through laws from 1906. So I think it was more Gretel's idea to establish a kitchen and provide meals for the students. Probably she remembers from her school days. But for the high school in Moonlight Falls, I will remember myself to not put in a kitchen. But maybe there will be a cafeteria-like room where the students can eat their lunches that they brought from home. I also plan to have a private school in Moonlight Falls, mostly for the upper-class kids from the Goths and Crumblebottoms. It might be different there, we will see. The school also has a greenhouse, which was Pruden's idea of teaching biology. The kids can grow their own food in the school garden, and that will be used for the school lunches. But the kids also have a lot of things to play with, like a sandpit, a roundabout, swings and a monkey bar. Sports, especially baseball, will be taught as well. Le Pleasant will come by at his days off and help teaching the kids, especially the boys. Baseball is the most popular sport in Pleasantview. The girls will probably dance ballet, though I haven't put that in right now. I need to download those ballet bars from the free time pack that can stand alone in a room, because there is no gym on the lot. Every morning after summoning in the children, I will introduce everyone to each other. That way the older kids get to know also the younger kids who are new in the school. For Monday, the first lesson is planned to be a get to know each other session in the cafeteria. The teachers will sit together with the kids at the table and all will talk about the weekend or other stories. This will be from 9 to 11. The second lesson will start at 11:30 and go until 13:30. After that, the school lunches take place, and afterwards there will be time for free play. The second lesson on Mondays will be sports. On Tuesdays, I will teach art and later the kids will learn from school books. Wednesdays will start with a lecture and afterwards every kid will work in the school garden. Also on Wednesday evenings, parents can have a meeting with the teacher. On Thursdays, there will be sports first, then learning from school books. Fridays will be dedicated to art again, and the second lesson will be more for free play. Maybe trips to the park, museums or other activities. As you can see, it is just a simple building, and at the end I am glad I changed the wall colors inside. It didn't feel right to only have a plain color. The outside is okay, I guess. However, I downloaded gable ornaments that I placed in off camera. Maybe you noticed that I used mostly that green color for most of the build items. I liked having a repeating color that would calm body and mind and hopefully make the students more open for all the lessons. As always, I talked much more than I originally thought I would. But this way I can give you an idea of what I am thinking, planning and researching. I am really doing a lot of research, like since when is birth control available? What subjects were taught in the 1920s? Racial segregation is a topic I haven't explored much yet. mostly because I like a nice neighborhood, but in the 1920s this was a very extreme issue in the southern United States. So maybe I can broach the topic a bit. Women's rights, also something that grew over time along with other historical facts I like to include in gameplay or machinima. With that, I want to thank you for sticking around with me. I'll see you in the next video. Please leave a comment if you want to chat, and I hope you are doing well. Bye!